Okay, so start us off. We wanted to do, well, it was actually a challenge, I guess, from Christy. We wanted to do a snack that was a little lower in sodium. I think sodium's a big marker, and we want to make sure that we can address that with, most snacks out there, there's so much hidden sodium. Even one of the healthier ones, so pretzels. You think pretzels, one of the healthier, there's a lot of salt in pretzels. So we're like, okay, let's do a soft pretzel, a little less salt, much less salt, and we're adding some other flavors there. So this one here, I decided to do the harder one first. It's a pretty simple recipe. If anyone's made bread before, it's really only the beginning part. That's the hardest part. Once you get it to rise, it's easy sailing from there. So I'm gonna get you through the hard part, and then you guys can do the easy part at home. So soft pretzel, we're starting with our bread dough mix, or pretzel dough mix. And our leavening agent, as in most bread, is yeast. So we have 1.5 cups of warm water. This is just warm tap water, warm to the touch. If it's too hot for your hand, it's too hot. Yeast, remember, is alive. You don't want to kill it. You also need to wake it up. So if it's too cold, it won't activate it. So you need it, nice lukewarm temperature. So 1.5 cups. We add 1 package of yeast, which is about 2¼ teaspoons. They sell yeast in many different forms. You can get the instant dry active yeast. They have the traditional yeast. Either one works. It's fine. You can get the single packages as well. So we added that to the cup. We also added a teaspoon of, we just had organic cane sugar. We just needed a little bit of, so you can even add a little bit of honey. I've done it with honey before as well, just to activate the yeast. The yeast needs something to eat. So essentially, it starts to eat. You gotta wake it up. It's hungry, like me in the morning, very hungry. So it wants those sugars to eat and create that gas, pretty much. If you can think of anything that eats, it will eventually create gas. And that's what it's doing, and that's where you're getting these bubbles. So once you start to see the bubbles, you can give it a quick stir, and we'll add it to our stand mixer. If you don't have a stand mixer, you can do this by hand.
Build some good muscles by making bread.
It's definitely doable by hand. My grandmother, we used to make something similar. We call them taralli in Italian, which are kind of like hard pretzels. And she did it by hand, so if she can do it by hand, anyone can do it by hand. She was pretty good. That's true. I'm going to say, yes, she was pretty strong. So I have my yeast mixture in there, and our flour. Any flour will work with this. We love talking about red Fife flour. Is a nice hearty whole grain flour. You can use whole wheat flour. You can use spelt flour, or you can use a blend. So I find it's nice is if you have like a nice, just an unbleached all-purpose flour, you can mix it with a nice hearty red Fife or a whole wheat flour. Question, yes.
What if people have gluten?
So with this one, you can use, there are some gluten-free bread mixes or flours out there. I'm not a huge fan of it. I find them to be pretty processed, but you can try that. You can also try quinoa flour. The only thing with quinoa flour is that you're going to end up with a version that's more like a hard pretzel than a soft pretzel. There's no gluten in it, unfortunately, so with something like this, you need that rising. But you can try some of they do have bread mix flours that are gluten. They have like a xanthan gum. They have some other additions there. So you can try that one. It doesn't come out as fluffy, but it'll still work. And so we're going to add just a little bit just to start. So this is about 4 cups. Now, depending on the moisture and humidity in your house, depending on the temperature of your water, there's so many different factors that may require you to add less flour or more flour. So that's one of those things where I say 4 cups. 4 cups pretty much worked, even a little less. The more whole wheat you add as well, that's also going to absorb more liquid. So do a little bit at a time. I'll show you what it looks like, and then that's what you kind of want to go for. So we're going to start this up. Whoa, easy.
Not so
easy
fast.
Temperature. Just to get just a little bit of that flour going, just to get a starter. From there, I'm going to add, it's usually you find butter. That's why soft pretzels, I think, are so delicious. There's a lot of butter in them as well. we're gonna add 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil. So we're using a healthy fat there. And you need a little bit of that fat in there just to make it nice and fluffy. And then we're gonna slowly add the rest of our flour. This is exactly what we want. And I'm gonna knead out the last couple minutes onto this cutting board here. So you can see it's a soft dough. The key is, so right now it's still a little sticky. I don't want anything to stick to my fingers. So that's the point that I want to get it at. So I need to add just a touch more flour, and you can just do the rest right onto a cutting board. And when kneading dough, bread, flour, or bread doughs or anything like that, it's pretty simple. You want to get a good knead in there so that you can activate the gluten, so you can get a nice structure and a nice rise, and you get a much fluffier product out of that. So essentially, to knead, a simple technique, you can either go from the top or the back. You lift it up, and with the palms of your hand, push it back in. And you just keep doing that over and over again. And you can kind of turn it, so a little bit of the end, and then use the palms of your hand to turn it back in. Now this, I'm just going to form into a ball. That's it. So nice and soft. It's not tacky or sticky anymore. And this is just a plain version. We did one where we added, and I was talking so I forgot to add it in, but during that mixing process, a little bit of chopped up rosemary, a little bit of chopped up garlic. Those are kind of my favorite, but you can customize it. You can even make it as a sweeter dough. You can add a little bit of honey, you can add some cinnamon and some nutmeg if you wanted like a sweet pretzel. Experiment with different herbs. Any dried herbs, any fresh herbs would work with this. Another big thing I actually was reading about is that bread is a big
can have
contributor
a lot
to your
of salt
sodium.
added to it. It's very true.
So I mean, I don't usually bake bread at home. I know some people love baking bread, but it is a nice little technique to put into your repertoire, and you can use it every once in a while to make a nice fresh baked bread, and you can control that sodium in there. So dough goes into a bowl, cover it with saran wrap, put it into a warm spot in the kitchen. People ask, where is the warmest spot in the kitchen? The temperature in here is pretty even throughout. So I just try to get it as close to the oven as possible, especially if I'm cooking that day. Some people say on top of the fridge. That's too high for me, so I don't go up there. I put it over here, and you just want to cover
Have someone hug it for a few hours.
Cover it for about an hour, and you get a nice fluffy rise of your dough.
Yes,
That-
so
yeah,
here
you
you
can
can
see
see
that.
all the beautiful herbs
Yeah,
and spices. So you're gonna get a super flavorful pretzel without the salt.
And I mean, that's the hardest part. You know, as soon as you get the rise, like I said, I don't bake bread that often. It seems intimidating.
Yeah, it does for a lot of people. But if you make this dough ahead of time, could you freeze a ball of it?
Sure,
And
yes.
then kind of bake it in batches?
Yeah, definitely. So you can definitely freeze your dough. You can refrigerate it. It does slow down the rising process. So I tend to do it. After it rises. It will come down a little bit. You're not going to get it as fluffy, I think, when you freeze it, but it'll still work. So you can do them ahead of time, wrap them up tight, and then throw them in the freezer. So we have our dough, and we're just going to divide it into. Depends on how big you want to make it. You can make 10 pieces. If you want to make really tiny ones, and you can shape them. Now the traditional, actually, Christy, I'll give you a few pieces too.
Yeah, thanks.
See if the pretzel making skills meet the mark. Okay, so take a little piece and you just kind of roll it out just until you get about, you want to roll out into a rope just about a 1-inch thickness. Okay, and you can kind of cut them up. If they're not even, that's okay. I'm sure no one will mind. They're getting a soft pretzel. I think it's a nice little treat.
Only if they're, if someone else's pretzel is bigger, they might complain.
So you can do, your traditional shape. You can make your pretzel. So you take the ends. Oh, this is going to be very irregular. and you can kind of crisscross them. This is a small one, but you can do that. One thing that my mom used to do is make little knots, and that's what I like doing, is the little knots. So you just take the two ends, and that way you can make them a little smaller, and you just crisscross them into each other, so you make a knot. There's no hard, fast rules to this. You can make whatever shape you like. If you like hearts, and you want to cut them out.
Hearts are a good idea.
Sticks. And that's pretty much it. So you want to roll as many as you can. Now, at this point,
How did I do?
that's pretty good. Hey,
That was my attempt at the classic pretzel.
it looks exactly like this one, but that's all right. It's good. That's it.
Looks like a
Perfect.
yogi.
And so at this point, you have two options. You can bake them as is in the oven. It's a nice, it'll come out really nice and golden brown. We're going to give them a little bit of an egg wash, and we have a 450-degree oven, so a nice hot oven. And I found that 13 minutes for this recipe is almost perfect. But give or take a minute, depending on the oven. Everyone's oven's different, and you want a nice golden brown. Now, this is where it gets a little technical. There's one extra step if you choose. You do not have to do this. But for the traditional pretzel, the pretzels that you find in most of the stores, those soft pretzels, the pretzel makers, what they do is at this point, they give it an alkaline bath. So an alkaline bath is just water, and in the commercial industry, they use a product called lye. Lye is very alkaline. It's also pretty toxic if you inhale it. So in the commercial world, they use this. It's food grade, it's safe, it bakes off, but while you're making it, while it's boiling, if you're not wearing a gas mask, you can pass out. I don't know how many people you have a gas mask at home. I would not suggest you seek out
recommend.
food grade lye. It's difficult to find, so I wouldn't worry about that. So this is another step you can do. Another alkaline ingredient that almost everyone probably has in their pantry. Does anyone know what it is? Baking soda. Yes, baking soda.
Excellent.
So baking soda works. Where's my baking soda? Oh, there it is. Baking soda, it's a little less alkaline than what they use in the industry, but it still works very, very well. So what we're doing is we have 8 cups of boiling water. This has been boiling down for a while. It's a little less than 8 cups now, but 8 cups of boiling water to about a 1/4 cup of baking soda, and we're going to create our alkaline solution.
So what does the alkaline bath do for the pretzel?
That's a great question. So we actually did a test yesterday because I wanted to try with the alkaline bath, without the alkaline bath. With most pretzels, when you buy them, these little soft pretzels, you'll notice that kind of shiny brown skin on the outside, for lack of a better term. It has a nice little chewiness to it. That's what it does. It creates that nice golden coating on the outside.
Oh.
We did it both ways. You'd notice a little bit of a difference, but it's not that big of a difference. So the extra step is up to you. If you want to try it, go for it. Or if you want to do it both ways, do your own test at home, by all means. I mean, it's a nice little trick to try. Bagels, some bagels are actually made in a similar fashion, not with the alkaline, but with that boiling method beforehand. And that's it. It's very, very simple. Drop those knots in, and for about 30 seconds. Does not take long at all. I have a slotted spoon. My water is boiled down a bit here, but make sure there's enough water in there.
Do you want them to be covered?
You want them to be covered, so they'll be floating. They'll float on top, and you can kind of flip them. 30 seconds, that is it. We'll assume that was 30 seconds. Slotted spoon, take it out. You can use a spatula. Whoa, this one we lost a little piece. And you can go right onto a baking tray lined with parchment. That's it. So it's a little bit of an extra step. I'll show you the difference. Whoa!
Ooh, good save.
Quick hands. And we're going to give it just a little bit of an egg wash on top.
That'll help with the crispy golden
It'll
brown
also,
action.
yes. And at this point, because you have that little bit of egg wash, you can add, some sesame seeds. You can add a little bit more rosemary if you want. It'll adhere. It'll stick to the top This is where they usually add, the salt, the big salt pieces. If you're watching your salt, obviously don't add salt there. If you wanted to add a little bit, I mean, this is up to you at this point. That's going to go in the oven. So like I said, 450 degrees, 13 minutes.
Does it make a difference because it looks like your pan's slotted?
Oh, it doesn't make a difference. No, that's just the one I had. No. But what you do want to do is after you take them out, you want to put them on a rack or slotted pan just to dry for about 15 minutes. And that's what you get. So that's it. Those are our soft pretzel with rosemary and garlic.
Awesome.